It was the Bills Chiefs 13-second game. It was a very big parlay. Like one, you just throw in the dark, fuck it. And guess who had the over? And thought it was such a lock too. I was like, oh, this is easy. 54.5. It's like literally everything happened. It was like Jerick McKinnon did some crap for me. Gabe Davis, the over hit.
Yeah.
The final leg was Travis Kelce touchdown. And that literally was the final play of the game. It was like everything hit. I turned like $5 into like 4.7K or something. It was like,
wow.
And yeah.
What's up, everybody? We are here on the DubClub CEO Corner. This is Ryan, CEO of DubClub, with Dan, the CEO of DNR Sports. Dan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy to be out here in California. Excited to talk some ball today. Some of the behind the scenes.
Yeah, we're gonna open the playbook.
Yeah,
where the CEO Corner is where sports content creator CEOs like Dan himself will open the playbook to talk about lifestyle, betting advice, strategies, all the above. We're going to start first with Dan. You're in the Bay Area, and you're a huge Warriors fan, which we've talked about before. But share the backstory. Like you're an East Coast guy, big fan of the Warriors. Is this a bandwagon situation?
Yeah, I didn't watch basketball until I was about 15, 16. And I was like, oh, this Steph Curry guy is pretty great, huh? And it's completely bandwagon. I'm not afraid to admit it. But now I was going to say this year, I thought they'd be a little worse, right? I expected them to be worse. They're not. So I thought I'd have an excuse like, oh, I'm still sticking around while they're bad, whatever. But they're not. So I don't know. But I'm a Packers fan for football, and that's been since I was like 7. So
there you go.
Yeah. That's how it works. I kind of find a team that I like in the moment, and then I'll stick with them. But
that's fair.
They happen to be good at the time that I chose them.
Yeah, and so with the Warriors, it sounds like your affection for them started with Steph Curry.
Steph, it might be weird, but Draymond, I might be his only fan ever, honestly. Like, I love just like how physical.
You'll see a lot of Draymond jerseys tonight when we get to Chase Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They love him out here in the Bay Area.
I just love his vibe of like just annoying people. Like I grew up playing soccer. I was a center back, and like defense gets no credit, but you love to just like get in the forward's head all the time. So that's kind of how I've always been. So just seeing him do that to the maximum ability every single game. Like, I mean, just the things he does with Nurkic and stuff, just like, I love it. You know, it makes me appreciate defense more. So.
Yeah, I love that too. I mean, a lot of it's just like that mental game.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that when you hear stories of Jordan, it's like people could not break down that mental barrier with him. Yeah. Where like everyone would try, and they had to resort, like the Pistons, the Detroit Pistons, they resorted to physical, and they would like try to hurt Jordan.
Yeah.
And he would he'd get up and he'd tell his teammates like, don't let them see you hurting.
Yeah.
And I would love to see a Draymond, Jordan, like Draymond kind of reminds me like not Pippen, Rodman kind of. Like,
okay, yeah, exactly.
Little dynamic there. I think he probably took after that.
I think especially in like solo sports, like I remember golfers going against Tiger Woods and like John Jones, whoever's fighting him, or like I like chess, Magnus Carlsen. Anybody who's playing these guys is just like automatically like, how do I not lose? Yeah. Rather than like, how do I win? You know. So
it's like how badly can I not lose?
Exactly.
Let me limit the beating I take from these guys. Yeah, that's when you know you're in the presence of greatness. Yeah, I agree. So you're a Warriors fan because of Steph. You're out here in the Bay Area. We're going to a Warriors game tonight. Yeah. But you're originally, as far back as you want to go, currently located on the East Coast. Talk through a little bit of how you landed up. Like how did you fall into the position that you're in now as the CEO of DNR Sports, which is, I would call it like a multi-platform media company building your business on DubClub, which we'll get into. But how did you land into this position?
Yeah, I'm actually officially a business as of this year. I finally did the whole LLC thing and everything. So
that's exciting.
Really a CEO these days.
Yes, you are. Yeah, and we've talked about this before. Is like you got to start seeing yourself as that. That's really what you are.
Yeah, so pretty much I've always loved sports, especially football, especially the analytics behind it. I was the kid who brought in, I would literally, like when I was 6, I would like print out the rosters of teams and like try to just memorize the players. I don't know why. It was the weirdest thing, but I really loved doing that. And as I grew older, got into fantasy when I was probably 9 or 10. Won a couple leagues with my aunts and uncles and stuff and like cousins and whatnot. Yep. And then in high school, got super into it. And I started playing a lot of DraftKings DFS, where it's like you have a $50,000 salary cap and you're trying to fit in the most fantasy points possible by building a 9-player lineup. And that's what really got me into just loving like the statistics behind it once I get to that point. Because you're also, basically how that works is you're playing against all the other people who enter that contest. So it's kind of a little bit pokerish of like, is it worth playing this player that everyone is playing, or is there too much that you're giving up by doing that? So there's a lot of factors behind that I just really love, the gamifying aspects of it. I've always been into fantasy best ball, something over the past 4 or 5 years that I've gotten very into as well. But pretty much
best ball, let's talk about that concept.
Sure.
Describe that a little bit, because I'm not sure everyone understands what that is.
So best ball, honestly, is my favorite. Everyone's favorite part of drafting is drafting itself. For fantasy football, you love the draft. No one really loves doing waiver wires, especially when it's week 14.
And then you have to manage the damn team.
Exactly.
And, Christian
make
gets
the
hurt
wrong
week
choice,
one,
and yeah,
it's like, gosh darn.
Yeah, I have a CMC Cooper Cup team that for like 8 weeks did absolutely nothing, so that was brutal. But basically, best ball, the way it works is you draft a lineup of, it could be 18 to 20 picks, and no matter what, you get the best player that week inserted into the lineup. So it's like 1 quarterback, 2 RBs, 3 receivers, flex, tight end, no defense, no kicker. And so each week it's like if Lamar has 35 and Baker has 20, Lamar gets put into the lineup. But there's a lot of strategy behind it, of like combinations of players to have. You're basically in a giant pool. There's a contest I joined. It's called I believe it's like Best Ball Mania or something like that, where it's like a $15 million prize pool. So you're playing everyone else who joins that competition. So there's little strategies of stacking and like what players like where to draft them at times. Throughout the offseason, you're drafting the whole time. A player could get hurt in August 1st or whatever, who his backup, like Jordan Mason, was being drafted like 18th round the entire time.
Yep.
As we start to hear about the CMC calf injury, stars raising and stuff, but is there a point at which we're like, should I just stop taking Jordan Mason in like the 4th or 5th round? Like, is that getting way too high? Obviously, like something like that. So there's a lot of just strategy behind it that I really like, and I don't love managing my team. So I'll draft like hundreds of basketball teams, maybe even like 1,000 pushing it. I think year 1 I almost got to 1,000. So
Holy
yeah, it was
cow.
like I was really trying to draft a ton of teams, and it's just really fun to not have to manage it, but to get your ideas out there, because it's really hard when you're in like a league with your high school friends to get everyone you wanted and like do it the right way. So you're always kind of searching for that perfect lineup. So
yeah. Okay, that's very cool. I didn't mean to deviate. So back to the story of the DNR Sports, how it became to be the 2024 business that it is.
Yeah, so pretty much in college, I was just a regular business major, did well in school, but I just didn't really love like any paths that it was leading me towards. Right out of college, I applied to a bunch of the major like DFS companies in the city and stuff, just because I knew I wanted to be in that area and just some way of getting into the sports industry. And so I started working for one of the companies in there. Should I say it? Like, can I say it?
Yeah, it's up to you.
Yeah. Okay, so I was working for Thrive Fantasy.
This is a safe place.
For a while. Yeah, I just don't know if you want me to say it, but I worked for Thrive Fantasy for like literally 2 months total. But about 3 weeks into it, I had already started just making little shorts here and there on TikTok and stuff, because when I joined the company, I didn't realize I'd always tried to be a YouTuber first, but I didn't realize that there was so much going into TikTok and so much going into Instagram, like so much a possibility of viewership. Because when I was working there, I was basically on the marketing team where I would reach out to people like myself now and try to bring them on to get a deal with them so they promote the company. And I'm just seeing all these guys on TikTok. I've barely ever used it for sports related stuff. I'm like, oh my God, like these guys are getting tons of views. This is awesome. And I was always sitting here trying to make the long YouTube video that would get, like 100 views and you're happy or whatever. So at that point I made the switch where I was like, okay, while I'm working on the train ride home and stuff, I'm going to like edit my videos that I recorded in the morning or something like that. And pretty much what happened was, it's kind of a blessing. I had hip surgery from soccer. All right. So I was playing soccer, had a cortisone shot.
Usually don't hear those things in tandem. Blessing, hip surgery.
Well, because it made me stay home. I didn't go to commuting anymore, which means
more
throughout
time
the day,
for
any
videos.
little breaks I had, I was like, I'm making a video. I'm doing that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So pretty much the series that took me off was I was doing like a player rating series where I would break down like a wide receiver statistically, route running, speed, strength, catching, all that stuff, like a Madden rating, but it would be mine. And the first one that took off was Cooper Cup. And literally that night I went home and probably made 10 more for the next day. Like just literally every player I could think of, just getting their highlights. It was not very well done. I mean, some of the highlights.
Did you do it this year too?
I did a little bit last summer. This summer I don't believe I did any of them actually. But fun fact,
we'll get into that.
Well, the last one I did last year, Tyreek Hill reposted like his team or whatever. He put it on his account. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was doing that for a while. That took off. That was the series that kind of blew me up. I'm sure we'll get into it in a little bit of like any things that could help content creators like grow. But series are definitely a big thing to keep people coming back. So that blew up for me. And then from there, I knew I wanted to talk about fantasy football. So got into that. And then by September hit, it was betting season. And I got about 80,000 followers on the TikTok. I had just done the YouTube short stuff too, so I was probably at like 10K there. I had not started Instagram until literally a full year later. I messed up big on that. I'll fully admit that. I was like way too lazy to just remove the watermark and post. I don't know why. Yeah. I just didn't see immediate growth, so I kind of stopped. It was bad mentality. But That's with fair. TikTok, got to 80K and just started like talking about my picks on live stream. That's how I began. I was a live streamer first on TikTok. In relation to like how I would talk about my bets, because when I would make videos about them, I didn't do it in a good way that would keep retention up, or that wouldn't get me flagged, because TikTok is not the most friendly when it comes to sports betting content.
No, I don't think they understand what you guys are saying. Like, you're actually trying to help people understand how like, basically player outcomes. It's like, here's some advice on fantasy, like who you should start sit this week, what you should bet on, and it's how you bet. It's like it's playing. It's prize picks.
You have to avoid certain words. And like if I was ever showing, I would show like an underdog slip or like a FanDuel slip. And I didn't realize it for a while, but the FanDuel slip would keep getting me flagged on live.
Yes.
And I would constantly get banned. Yes. And one time they like logged me out of my account for a week. And it was a scary situation. I was like, is this over? Like, what the heck?
How many followers did you have when you got logged out?
I just crossed 100K too. So
I
was so happy about it.
That's like your livelihood, dude.
So that one, I was like, shit, I got to restart. Like halfway through the whole season. Pretty much I was emailing them and they didn't give me any great responses, but a week went by and I was just unbanned. And I guess that's one of the main bans that happens on TikTok, is like a week of like, you don't know what's going on, and then they unban you. But for some reason, maybe they were like, oh, we feel bad, because the first like 10 videos I got all got like 1 million views plus.
It's just so weird to me, because the whole point of those platforms is to generate eyeballs, and you are demonstrating that you can do that. And then they ban your stuff. We've gotten our CEO Corner shorts banned. And it's like, we talk about random stuff. I mean, how can you even constitute that as things that people
It still happens. I got one last week. And I went through my entire account to cleanse it, because I had started having issues with, like, I could tell when I post a video it was getting like shadow banned. And I went through and there was 11 flagged videos. And so I deleted them all, and now I'm fine.
How did you see that they were flagged?
Oh, I genuinely like scrolled through each one and like looked at the it'll tell you in the analytics if it's banned. I went through like 500.
Yeah. So if it gets like 3 views, you know that there's no way that.
Yeah. So like for me, and like if I post a video and I check in like 20 minutes and it has like 200, 300 views, I know that's wrong. It should be like 3, 4K or something like that. Just by how much I posted.
So it's interesting on this topic in particular. I have a lot of questions just in and around this world, but as a creator, it sounds like you gravitated naturally towards TikTok. Over time. I mean, it's sort of where you started, but you strayed away from Instagram for a bit. We'll talk about Twitter soon. But I view all of these as distribution channels for you and your brand. And TikTok kind of hit the nail on the head. Why do you think TikTok does such a good job? I want to hear your thoughts from the creator's side, and then I'll kind of get at it from a product lens in terms of how I've studied and what I've read and all that.
Yeah, so especially it has changed a little bit where it's not quite as new user friendly, I'll say. But at the start, it was definitely the one where if you posted and had no following, but your video was good, and it would show it to 200 people at the start and see how they react to it. But if it was a good video, it would get views no matter what. It really, especially YouTube, you really have to be every single day posting, and pretty much for shorts, just like you go through a period of like you literally see every time they get to like 1,500 views. That's where it's capped. That's where that video stand. It doesn't matter how good it was. And you have to kind of like break through these weird barriers that you can visually see on your account until it's at that point where there is no ceiling anymore. But I'd say with TikTok, maybe there was at the start for me. Like as I said before, the Cooper Cup videos what took it off. Before then, I was probably between like 500 and 2,000 views.
Okay.
But there is that. You could definitely see like the analytics, the comments, and everything. Like clearly, it was just a good video. So it was more rewarding at the time for if it's a good video. Doesn't matter if you're new or whatever.
Instant
we'll put
feedback.
It out there.
Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. Doesn't matter if you're new, right? That was kind of why TikTok, you were like, this is where I want to start.
Yeah.
That's a super fascinating dynamic, because that's why TikTok does so well. That concept of the cold start problem is a lot easier for creators on TikTok because of the discovery mechanisms that TikTok's built in.
And it's so good for people that they don't want to be content creators, but they have a funny video they want to share. They just want to like share
that video. The opportunity for a video to go viral is much higher on TikTok.
Yeah.
Because think about it as this, it's like, think about it as like in the sense of stores, where social media platforms could do one of two things. One is they're a mall and you have a bunch of different stores, and the store owner, which would be the creator in this instance, would only be able to service the people that are coming through the store. Those are their followers. Those are people who are going to see their stuff on their feed.
Right.
TikTok is like a billboard.
Yeah.
Right? Like TikTok is a billboard in the mall that anyone who walks through the mall can see and interact with. And it's a lot easier for people that don't have any followers, frankly, to reach an audience that just scrolls through on TikTok with discover what's interesting. And TikTok learns if someone watches sports content, they're probably going to surface a DNR Sports clip of the Cooper Cup ratings because they know that person's going to find it interesting, and they're just trying to keep their eyeballs.
That's exactly what happened. The SEO part of it really helped as well. It
Yeah,
wasn't so much
SEO.
SEO, yeah.
Yeah, describe that for.
So it's search engine optimization. So basically, if you, I don't know, like the Chiefs blocked field goal that just happened this past Sunday, like you just type that in on TikTok, you're going to see a ton of videos about that. You don't have to sit through like a YouTube video that's longer or whatever, or like the ads and stuff. It's just like instant there, which I've noticed a lot. I've heard about this, especially like lifestyle videos about like best places to eat in New York City, best places to water ski, wherever. Like that is becoming searched more on TikTok than Google now.
Wow.
It's kind of getting crazy. Yeah, it's a lot of people are, because you get more of an experience. It's not just like a little write-up that you get. It's you actually see the food, you see the person eating it and stuff. It's a whole different thing. So you're able to really just use this as kind of another search engine and get a little more like personalized.
How do you utilize that dynamic to your advantage as
for now,
a creator?
I'm always learning about it, but I know that I need to be putting certain words in my description and stuff. Where like for the video today, like week 11 NFL picks, maybe two teams that are playing each other on Monday Night Football picks, like just stuff like that, where people would type that in, and my video is gonna be the first one up. Mine usually is always like one of the first ones up because it's just I'm one of the bigger accounts. Plus, it's just I do include those things where like some people will just start talking about the game or whatever, and it won't the algorithm won't pick it up as easily. But I definitely about a year and a half ago, or maybe even 2 years at this point, that became a really big thing on TikTok is the search engine stuff, which takes away a little bit. This is what I was hinting at before. It takes away a little bit of the way people are able to discover you. It's not as random anymore. You do have to build up a little bit of a following now compared to how it used to be.
Yep.
But it's still a much better like search engine than Instagram. Instagram's starting to become like that, but they're way behind. And like YouTube's obviously great, but it's for long form. You don't search up something and find like shorts really.
Yeah, that's right. You know? Yeah, the shorts kind of just serve the purpose of the long form. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. So backing up a little bit for the listeners, you know, for folks that are either sports content creators that want to build a business and want to build their own following, or people that just generally are interested in producing content, this is a really important dynamic you're describing, which is being thoughtful about the way that you craft the content and the type of content you put out so that it hits on, I would say, strong keywords that might be searched by the end user. So in your instance, you know, week 11 NFL, right? Like those types of things, or specific matchups. You know, you want to be, I think the more specific, at least I've learned, and I'm not a marketing expert, but the more specific you can be, you can capture search engine optimization, because the search engine optimizer, in this case TikTok or on Google, they're actually trying to surface the most relevant result for that user with what they type in.
Right.
So you almost have to anticipate, like, what is somebody going to search for that is of high interest, and then how can I map my video to that? But is that when you're mapping the specific things in your video, is that the audio you're using, or is that you saying, oh, we've got week 11 picks, here are the match, you know, and getting into that, or is it you putting it in the like caption overview of the video?
Yeah, it's definitely both. Like whatever you say in the video, TikTok is very quick to like know. That's why your videos get banned so quick, because they know exactly what you're saying. Yep. You can see, even if you don't want it, like on your videos, they'll post like a caption at the bottom, like just so people can follow along if they're like deaf or whatever. Like it always puts like a thing up. So they are listening to your words. They know exactly what you're saying. So it's important in the video. I've heard some people do this trick where I've seen a couple of videos on it. They paste their description on the screen of the video and drag it off the screen. So it's technically there in the video, but you can't see it. I've only tried it like twice. I never saw a difference, but I know some people claim there's a difference.
Huh.
So,
and they're doing that because they think it's more data for TikTok to use, and it'll show up more in like a broader range of search results.
I guess they think it's more powerful than having it in the description. Like if it's in the actual video, it's like, oh, this must be Texans versus Chiefs. Like it has to be, you know what I mean?
That's so interesting.
Yeah, I saw it on a video one time and I tried it.
It's amazing how clever people get when they're trying to get, you know,
they'll put like a whole page of just 70 keywords and just slide it off. Yeah, it's funny.
It's worth trying. I mean, for those of you out there that want to see if you can show up on the search results, you might as well put a novel in there and see if it shows up more often. Okay, that's super interesting. And so the way that you kind of view TikTok again is You used it early on. You were taking a lot of videos when you had your hip surgery,
Yeah.
which I think worked to your benefit. Again, an ironic combination of words.
Yeah.
But talk to me about how TikTok has evolved for you, and then maybe some of the other platforms that you leverage for the DNR Sports brand.
So for TikTok at first, the reason it was so easy to grow too, that I guess I forgot to mention, was the quality of the video did not have to be very good. Like it was literally me in front of my window for lighting, just with a green screen of like Tyreek Hill or Cooper Kupp behind me or whatever. For a lot of videos where I didn't use film, it would just be my face and then behind me whenever I talked about them.
How do you make those?
On TikTok, it has like a green screen feature.
And you can just plug in any photo?
Yeah, you put a photo behind or a video behind you. And that's how I was doing the video overlay too, was I didn't have any editing background on like CapCut or anything at the time. So I would literally like find a video on YouTube, just chop it up, and then use that green screen feature, but aim it at the ceiling so it would only get the video on the screen. It was really janky, but I just had the video on the screen. I just voice over it. So that's how I do the film stuff. And then nowadays I use CapCut and everything, and I'm putting the little dings here and there and the sounds and just the words coming as text, and the film is much better and all that type of stuff. I'd have film back in the day that I'd be talking about Jamar Chase, and it wouldn't like on YouTube, you get it. It's obviously wide angle. You have to put it on the TikTok format, which means sometimes like the player will be cut out, so you have to shift it over. I would literally have plays where like Jamar Chase housing is a 70-yard touchdown, and it's literally like the player behind him chasing him, not even him. Like it was like such bad quality. So I've gotten a lot better in that aspect.
And you're managing all of that.
Yeah, I do. Well,
Who's your marketing guy or girl?
Me. Like I do everything. I do.
You're the CEO. You're a chief marketing officer. What else do you do?
I'm editor. I'm chief lighting technician. I don't know. I'm everything. Yeah, I do have an editor here and there for basketball stuff, but football. I told him it's my baby. I can't. Timing's a big thing with TikTok and stuff too. That's one thing that a lot of creators.
Time of day, or what do you
not mean? Time of day, but like. I mean, yes, but at the same time, just being like first to trends is like really important. Which like when I was one of the first to start giving out my picks in like that nice format that I'm talking about, where it's like the film behind and then my face and the film and stuff like that. Last year, and like a Thursday night game, I was posting that the morning of the Thursday night game. Now people are legitimately, after Monday Night Football ends, putting out a Thursday Night Football video. The picks are barely up, so it's like everyone kind of pushes each other to the limits of these things. So that's where it's
natural competition. They know that's where the eyeballs come in.
And now I know on Twitter, like when I worked with you guys a lot last year, one of your big selling points to me was be the first out. Like have your DubClub be the space where you give out the pick first, and then the next day you give it out for free on Twitter. So you keep growing on Twitter, but you also have a community that gets the stuff before the lines move. But now I'm seeing everyone on Twitter is posting on Twitter or in their own personal DubClubs or wherever the night before. So it's like the games end and it's 2 a.m. Eastern my time, and it's like everyone's posting on Twitter and stuff. The game is leveled up right now. So there's a lot of content you're able to consume immediately after a game ends.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing of building a business, though, is that you're always going to have to level yourself up.
Yeah.
For someone that clearly likes gamification, you've got a situation now where you make a move, someone else will make a move, or like hundreds of people will make a move, and then you're like, all right, how can I outcompete them?
And I will say,
you've got us to help you. That's the beautiful
exactly, and it's really good though to actually like you'll think of other creators, especially in like MySpace, as like direct competitors, but I've made friends with a lot of them, and you really realize that the more you talk to each other and like learn from each other, you'll benefit so much more. Like it's a very like poor, jealous mindset to have, to be like, oh, like I gotta blah blah blah, like I can't give him this secret, or I can't talk to him at all. You're gonna grow exponentially more if you have a good circle of people you can talk to about this, because you'll pick up on so much stuff you didn't know, and you'll give them info too. It's good to learn. Help more people win more together. That's exactly our mission. Yeah. That's why that's why I love the DubClub network. Is one of the things we do is we actually introduce you guys, like each of our partners, to other partners who maybe have a complementary skill set or knowledge about something that you may not have. And the idea for that was actually, as Lewis Dash and I, the three co-founders of DubClub, as we were getting this company off the ground three and a half years ago, over the years, it became very obvious that talking to other founders was super valuable, because they'd give you tips and tricks, and you can just sort of get a sense for what it entails to build a business, which is not an easy thing to do. I think having peers and having other people to kind of lean on is always the route that I would choose. And we're choosing for you guys, right? There's so many things that you should be cutting corners on that you just don't know about. That's right. And like
and you don't have a ton of time to step back and say, let me see the field, right? Like you're playing the game, you're coaching, and you're calling the plays up in the press box.
Yeah.
That's kind of a hard, trio right there.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of burnout. That's why like as easy as content creation is, and everyone says it's like the easiest job, it is, but there's that aspect of like actually having the mental like determination to just keep. It's like the gym. It's like when you miss one day at the gym, you kind of miss 2, then 3, and then 4. Like you got to always do it. It's got to be like just the nature of like wanting to do more. But to your point before, where you said you introduced me to other creators, I came here in June to San Fran and got to play golf with 2 other guys from DubClub, Zeke and Hank.
Hammer Hank,
and
I think one of you guys is using each other's editor. I think
they're using
Zeke
my editor. I hooked them up with my editor for their videos because they're primarily on Twitter. And I'm more of a video guy, so they helped me with some Twitter stuff. I helped them with some video stuff. So it's just cool to have those type of connections. They're great guys. So I love
that is awesome. And I remember that vividly because we golfed.
Yeah.
And Zeke talked a lot of crap. He'll be on the podcast in January. Talked a lot of crap, and then I think we beat him in golf. Remember, your back was not feeling so good.
Yeah,
that was a long day.
The next day, me and Dash made up for it.
That's right. You guys went. You did Half Moon Bay. Yeah. So you had a long 18, then another 18. But yeah, that's awesome. I think that's what this is all about, is like helping others, lifting them up as you go. And, I think just for the audience, again, they'll see it in the podcast notes, but give us a sense for your social presence and then general scale of your DubClub, so people have an idea of like what we're talking about here. You're not just some random creator. You've got a real legitimate large presence going.
I still, in our little niche, I guess I am big, but in the grand scheme of things, my follower count's not crazy. I'm at, I think, 340K on TikTok, 140K on Instagram. YouTube, I believe, is like 67K. Twitter is about 64K. It's kind of pretty good for our space, but nothing like crazy millions or anything. DubClub, right now, I think I got about 550 people in there. My peak last NBA was about 2,500 when we were really just crushing the ladder challenges constantly. But hopefully we'll get back there pretty soon. So
yeah. But I think it's important, like the 550, I'll translate that not to specific numbers for the intention of where you're at right now, but that's a well over 6-figure business a year. I mean, and that's from your subscription contractually recurring revenue.
And these are also
you have other opportunities with affiliate stuff, which we can get into, but.
And this also has to do with like off seasons too, of like MLB and stuff. Like I don't personally cover MLB, so I'm getting my traction back, kind of.
Yeah, it ebbs and flows. Yeah, I think as we get into the thick of NBA, like we did last year. I remember seeing you in Chicago in January, and then it was like the lights flickered on and stayed on for the entirety of the rest of the NBA season.
Yeah. And
that's when you hit that peak of 2,500.
I think NBA is particularly good because it's just every day. Like football is a little more casual and just less. There's a lot of betting, obviously, but it's just I feel like any dude just drinking a beer is like, you know what, F it, I'm throwing 100 on the Giants or whatever. It's kind of more like that. Where NBA, I think most people just don't know as much, so it's more like willingness to listen to other people and just it's every day, so there's more opportunity.
Yep, I agree. The numbers bear out that dynamic too.
Yeah.
It obviously MLB very much crescendos down. The volume in the summer is $5 to $8 billion a month in dollars wagered legally. Can assume like probably 25% to 50% more at least illegally. Yeah, probably more than that, maybe double. But then in the fall, it rises back up to 10 to 15 billion, and then throughout the fall through March Madness, that's where it kind of peaks because you've got multiple sports going on. But I mean that kind of follows the pattern of your business, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've gotten into a couple different topics already, which is great. We're already 30 minutes in. I don't know if you realize that, but
oh wow.
Yeah, exactly. This is like I got a lot of stuff written down that we're going to jump into. I kind of want to start because we're on the topic of the social presence you've built up. We just went through the election, actually this time last week, which is kind of crazy to think about. Mm-hmm. And a big part of the election was the concept of eliminating fake news. I think that's the majority of folks that have sort of reported out after the election are talking about the Trump campaign and the fact that they overperformed because of how stripped away this fake media is. And a lot of that I personally have observed could be attributed to X, how Elon has transformed X. And I think the question I have for you, and I don't want to give my hot take, but I'm generally curious. Maybe we'll start with X and Elon. Do you think that Elon purchased X for way over the price he should have paid just so that he could help with the election?
Just so, maybe not specifically just for this election, but definitely for one day to have like the ability to put what if it was for Trump, if it was for whatever other type of venture he had, yeah, like for him to have, it is free speech, but like it's also like super powerful speech. Like I have Elon's notifications on my phone, and that man was talking a lot during the election, so it was interesting to.
He was tweeting like every hour.
Yeah. I don't know how he even slept. It must have been other people too, but like, yeah,
I don't know. I think it's him.
It might be him.
I think it's literally him. I don't think he sleeps.
He might not. Yeah. I remember listening to a documentary like when he was building Tesla, and it was like 4 hours a night. He just sleep there and just get up and go. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. I think there's a podcast that I listened to on Elon, and actually I corroborated this because I'm from the Bay Area, so I corroborated it with someone I know. There's a famous hotel. It's called I think Rosewood Sandhill, or like, so there's a hotel on Sandhill. I'm forgetting the exact name right now. It's probably actually good that I don't know it for many reasons. But it's where like all the tech big shots meet. And so Elon wasn't living in California for a while, but was running Tesla out of the factory here, and would fly in, meet people at the hotel, not stay at the hotel, would like go crash at a buddy's house and get like an hour of sleep.
Yeah.
And then just be up and at 'em the next day.
Yeah.
And part of me is kind of like, he's building these autonomous robots, but is he also a robot?
I mean, he might be the closest thing we know to it. When you see him speak, I've listened to a bunch of his stuff, like on Joe Rogan, especially. Like,
yeah, that Joe Rogan podcast is great.
Just the way he speaks is quite close to robotic. So yeah,
I had that same thought. I actually said it to my girlfriend. She was in the car with me as I was listening to the podcast, and I was like, "Is it me, or does this literally sound like there's a robot on this podcast?"
Yeah, I have
a
to
robot
listen
with
to
a South African accent.
Yeah, I got to listen to those in 2x. Yeah, it's a little too slow.
Yeah, that was a really good one, and that he played that. That was my point around X, was he played that Joe Rogan podcast. He actually did one last year, and then did one like a couple days before the election, and played it a bunch around the election coverage.
Yeah,
so that people could actually get a feel for it.
But I will say he's not like, while he's talking a lot about it, I haven't seen any type of like censorship or anything of that aspect. I get tons of like the other side on my feed as well. So it's like, I think he's done it pretty well. He means well by actually saying like, we're gonna have this free speech thing for real. No one's getting banned. I don't care what, unless it's some crazy stuff they say. But yeah, I think he's done a good job.
Yeah, and I mean his whole thing is like, you can just link back to the source material.
Yeah,
when you hear someone says Trump said this or Kamala said that, just link to the source material. And that's why Twitter has gotten to the point where it is with free speech, is that people are just finding what people are actually saying and not trusting what the media is putting out for them, which is how Twitter was before, because they were just trying to get ad dollars from these media companies.
That's true. Yeah.
So how, with that being said, and the changes that Elon has made, the take from you, it sounds like he bought it, in your opinion, because he wanted to stimulate free speech. How has it changed? How has X, after the Elon ownership, changed your business? And how have you seen the growth on X manifest?
Do you know exactly when he purchased? What do you know off the top of your head?
About, I think 18 to 24 months ago. Call it 2 years.
Gotcha. Okay.
Estimate.
I noticed this year.
Sometime in 2022. I'll actually confirm that right now.
Okay. So then it didn't affect me very much, honestly, because I was not big on Twitter until end of 2023. But I know at least this year, the algorithm definitely gauged things towards the election in terms of like just like what you see on your feed, whether it's right or left.
Yeah, it's been exactly 2 years, by the way.
Okay. So, because I have a couple of big friends in the space that are much bigger than me on Twitter, and they noticed all throughout, even into football season, until literally November, their normal types of analytics that they would see, or views, or just engagement overall, was like way down until November finally hit, and NBA and NFL like coexisted for a couple weeks. Then they saw a big spike in viewership. So I don't know quite what was happening there, but their theory at least was that the election was just being shown a lot more. Like, after certain things happen on TikTok, same thing. Like, just that's all that you're getting. If you watch one video, that's all they're going to show you. So
yeah. And did the increase in engagement lead to monetization increase as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's our whole business. Just get as many eyeballs on to whatever we're trying to sell or affiliate with. Like, yeah, we just care about eyeballs. So it can be as many as I can take.
Yeah. So Elon, I just looked it up to confirm, but yeah, it was exactly 24 months ago in October they closed the acquisition.
Oh, okay.
He took over. I mean, you can't really expect someone to make change in 6 to 12 months as a new CEO. So expect like end of 2023, early 2024. With that context, let's say he was just starting to put in a lot of these changes at the beginning of this year, end of last. Do you think that would have affected your business, or do you think that did affect your business?
Potentially. I mean, honestly, like I have not noticed that big of a difference because I did used to use Twitter, but I think the only main differences are maybe he's obviously tweaking the algorithm in some ways, but I think like just the what's it called at the bottom of a post when it's like a saying if something's wrong or whatever, like I what's it called? You know what I'm talking about? Where when someone posts something that's clearly like a gambling ad or like a one of those
it's
types
like
of ads where
like
it's
a
like
little
a disclaimer.
Yeah.
So that I've noticed a lot where it's like because there's an epidemic of a certain type of thing on X that's pretty big. So it's like it's good to have that there, and like it's kind of like a fact checker, but not like really like that. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah. So it's important to have that on there. That's really the only one that I've seen.
Okay, all right, yeah. So for the most part, 2024. How much have you grown on X this past year?
Oh God. Well, pretty much it was literally just like 0, 65K. Like it's just like just a straight up.
Yeah.
And I was very, especially because I didn't do any MLB stuff. Once again, just how I say, you need to be very consistent in whatever your main form of content is, like whether it's long form YouTube or short form content on TikTok or X. You really got to like be every single day on there because I didn't, and my ex is suffering from it. My engagement is like far worse. Even if I sweep, I had a 5-0 sweep the other night, and that got me like, even with like retweets and stuff, got me to like probably like 120K impressions by the next morning. Where like last year that would have been like 700K maybe, and then it would have kept going. So it's a big difference if you're not consistent. And you see the same exact thing with any platform you're on. If you don't post for a while, they're going to take notice. Especially YouTube and X, I think are the two that mainly.
Interesting. So you think that's the platform noticing this creator has been inactive and therefore we're penalizing him?
Yeah. Because also with Twitter, a lot of people have notifications on for your posts.
Yep.
And so when they see that all the time, they're kind of used to it and they know what's up. But when you take a big break like I did, they may forget who I am or they turn notifications off or whatever it is. So it takes a big hit.
That's tough. How do you take a vacation or a break?
You don't. That's why. Yeah, I have a friend who's real big in the Twitter space, and he wants to expand to video content, but he's like, dude, like I literally have to tweet like every 30 minutes and have this regimented schedule.
Is he in the sports industry?
Yeah, he's really big. He's the biggest one on Twitter, basically. So it's just like that's all he does, and I get it because like from a video creative aspect, it's just like I can't imagine doing that. That's when I really had my biggest growth period is when I actually did do what he does, where it's like every 30 minutes and you're putting all the write-ups and everything.
Yep.
But that also was like a 12-hour day at sometimes of just doing that plus my TikTok and other stuff. So I was like, the juice is not worth the squeeze for that unless I got somebody else to like help me out with it or whatever, which I've thought about too. But I never wanted to be the point where I know there's some people in the space that like don't give their own picks out. They'll have like somebody just make the picks for them and then put it all out and stuff like that. I always want to be someone where like we're winning or losing with my picks.
Yeah, it's your product. You're making the product. You're delivering the product.
I don't want people thinking they're paying for my picks, but they're not. Yeah. So you know what I mean? So
yeah. So that point that you made around constant velocity and volume of posting on social media, I was talking about that exact topic 3 weeks ago with a guy named Scotty Picks. How old are you? 24. Yeah, he's 23. Might be 22. I think he's 23. And he brought up a analysis of how often he's tweeted in the last month. Yeah. And I averaged that down to how many tweets per day. And it was like 65 tweets a day.
Oh my God.
And I was like, dude, what in the world? Like, talk about robot.
Yeah.
But that if you chunk that up, that's 4 an hour.
Yeah.
So one every 15 minutes for a 12-hour period.
Yeah, it feels like at least with the video content, I'm able to like, all right, once I did it. I can let it sit and
right.
Just
It'll
be
marinate,
there.
Right? It's just gonna marinate. People watch it.
But it's a lot more effort to do it. Like it's not the stepping stone is I can't just tweet this and that's it. You have to edit and everything. But I will say when I was doing the live streams, my first year doing that, when I had to be like there every hour before the game, that's why I do it. Like right before the game, I'd go for an hour and talk about everything. That was like it felt like. It really tied me down a lot more where like now I can schedule the video at certain times or whatever, but that just like how Twitter guys can't really get off their phone. It's like, I don't know how Adam Schefter exists, by the way. I just want to say like that dude must always be on his phone. So
yeah. I mean, do you think that it's him or do you think he has like a whole,
I'm pretty sure he does most of it. Like I listened to him talk a little bit and he does most of it. But maybe some stuff throughout the night can be other people, but
he's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
So, okay. There's a couple different threads to go down there. I think one, is the thread of how do you not do it all yourself all the time? What's the answer to that question for DNR Sports, the business now?
I've just picked I know my short form content's the best comparatively to like my long form YouTube. I did long form YouTube for fantasy over the summer.
Yeah.
And I got decent views, but it was nothing like, I don't know if they know Fantasy Flock. He's like the big YouTuber for fantasy related content. I was nowhere near him. And sometimes I believe it was Alex Hormozy who said this. I'm going to completely botch it. But sometimes like when you have one edge, you don't look for more. You just really push that edge. And that's kind of just what I am at the TikTok and Instagram and YouTube short stuff. So I'm going with that. I do dabble with Twitter because it is easy like once or twice a day to like tweet out something like my picks and whatnot. But it's just hard to really gamify the platform. That's what most people don't understand with like a lot of the really big cappers on Twitter. They get a lot of crap because they tweet so much and they're so energetic with like, this is the nuke of the day, this is blah blah blah, this is the best play I've ever seen. But like, you got to play the game of like getting people to actually want to look at your post, which is a big thing in TikTok. Like these Twitter guys don't understand like that type of verbiage and just saying something so easily gonna hit or whatever. It's like you need to sell the people and want to watch your video. And I've noticed that the guys who do that the most on all of the apps are the guys who are at the top. So
at the top in what way?
Viewership and I guess monetary gain too, but just viewership in general, just getting the most eyeballs on you is going to, in our industry especially, lead to the most money. So
yeah, that's an interesting point around the video content, in particular TikTok versus X.
Yeah.
Did you start to do any video on X, or did you just say, look, I'm going to keep short form, keep it text based, keep it simple?
Yeah, I do post them on X. I started doing that about probably 2-3 months ago, I'd say. Starting to put them out there like the fantasy stuff and now the betting stuff.
Yep.
Honestly, I have not seen amazing growth with it just because it's just not how that platform is really used. Like people more so just want to see the text version of everything.
Yeah,
I guess
it's more information based.
Yeah, but maybe if I was combining that with all the picks. But the problem is when I put that video out of all the picks, then all my write-ups of like individual statistics and everything don't matter anymore. It's just like you watch that video and say, okay, I know all his picks and everything. It's whatever.
Yep.
So there is a way of how they do it where it's like the final tweet they send for the day is like, here are the 5 picks for today after each one was individually, set up and ads were placed throughout it all. So there's a formula to it.
Yep. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So you've dabbled with video content on X.
Yeah.
Okay. Choose the platform that's best for your business to make money. Let's say I dropped all of them except one. Like you can only choose one. What's the most valuable, you think?
Well, definitely TikTok. But it has the most risk too, because like we never know if it's going to get banned, and the violations are just absurd. Like I've only gotten one on my Instagram one time, and they reinstated it. But I've gotten a bajillion on TikTok. So it's if you're able to work around it, it's easily the best. But if not, then maybe Instagram would go.
Okay, you've talked a lot about the value of TikTok, generally speaking, in terms of generating awareness. But how is it the best for making you money?
Well, pretty much how all forms of my business work is it's just like I try to get as many views as possible on I never do pretty much my content is always before the game. I never do like victory lapping content after the game. Even though I did it last year and it is pretty effective, especially for DubClub.
Yeah.
That's
people
why
want to know you're good. Yeah.
Well, that's why it's so good on Twitter to use DubClub, because like you're able to like constantly tweet about it. It's very hard at like 1 a.m. to make a video about how well you did. But I'll say like I make the video before the game. Let's say like for this week, I already made a week 11's picks video today, like 5 days in advance. And so throughout the week, it's getting to accumulate views. And I have like an affiliate ad in there. So it'll be like before the last 2 players, here's blah, blah, blah. It's a free special on this app or whatever. Go through. I don't say like use my link in bio or anything because I think that's something that could get you flagged on TikTok. I'm not positive about that anymore, but it's something that's been ingrained into me forever. So I'll just like type on the screen, like check my profile or something like that. Same thing I do for DubClub on my ladder challenge videos, and they'll just click my link tree or stand store or whatever I'm using and click the link from there. So yeah. Okay,
very interesting. You mentioned the affiliate concept, which just to kind of describe, you've got your DubClub where you accept subscribers, you provide them plays, information, community. You've got another part of your business, which is affiliate partnerships. Mm-hmm. And that's more getting people to sign up for sports books. Mm-hmm. Can you describe some of the most A, profitable, and B, just enjoyable affiliate partnerships you've had?
Yeah, my I mean, the top three that I'm still promoting today are like the ones that I really enjoy working with are Underdog, Prize Picks, and Sleeper.
Those are great.
Yeah, they're all
Good
great.
trio.
They're all top and they're all reputable and
Yep.
everyone knows them. And
Yep. They're all the daily fantasy. Yep.
yeah, I have been reached out to a lot for sportsbook stuff.
By like
But
FanDuel, DraftKings.
yeah, well, more so
that?
like in between people. I didn't know this, but there's people that get the licenses from them, like all the books, and then they take a percentage of what I get, basically.
Oh, interesting.
Which
Yeah, they're like
yeah.
affiliate of the. Yeah. I get
Yeah.
that, yeah. On behalf of one of these.
Right,
larger
which
folks,
takes
yeah.
away liability, is from what I've heard. Because if I were to do like a regular DraftKings ad, I mean, I'd have to say all these different. I'd have to put on the screen why you shouldn't gamble, all the 18 or 21 plus, and all the different regulations. Like if I say any of that in a video, it's getting 200 views. Like that's the beauty of DFS, daily fantasy, is that like Underdog and Prize Picks, you just like if it's made apparent that they're your sponsor, which it obviously is, like they're in basically every video, and I'm like putting you towards them, then it's fine. You don't have to give any disclaimer about don't gamble too much or whatever, because technically it's daily fantasy anyway, so it's just a different rule book, which makes it really easy for my content to like not have to like change what I'm already trying to do. The main goal is like me giving out my picks for everyone to win, so I'm not trying to like make the video get 0 views and be money hungry or whatever. It's nicer for the most possible views to like keep growing, and that type of vibe.
Totally makes sense. Okay. Yeah. All right, so of those three, let's get juicy here.
Oh boy.
Choose one.
God.
Favorite affiliate.
I'll say Underdog. Underdog. Okay. Yeah. I use them first. So, yeah, because I use them first in my state, which it doesn't allow the pick'ems. Like for a while, it didn't allow the pick'ems. So I was playing best ball on there first. So it's kind of just like I played on Underdog's platform before even being sponsored. Yeah. So I'll go with them. Plus, their team's great. I love the guys there. So
I agree.
Yeah.
We one of their former. I think it was like I don't know what he's doing there, honestly, but he's now at DubClub. His name's Andrew Mackins. Great guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know
Mackins, right? Yeah, I do. Yeah. I talked to him a couple times. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's one of our partner success managers.
Yeah. That's a good choice. Good selection there.
Yes, exactly. All right. So Underdog used to play it a lot. That's kind of your first love from a product standpoint, therefore, like good partner. What kind of, for other creators who, I think about this as that's a line of revenue for you. Like Apple, for instance, take Apple as a company. They've got iPhones that they sell. They've got, laptops that they sell. They got iPads, whatever. For you, it's like you've got your DubClub, which is subscription revenue that comes in. And then you've got your affiliate revenue that comes in when people use your code at an affiliate sportsbook. You get paid. I asked which of these are most profitable. You listed 3, but what can one expect generally from these sportsbook affiliates in terms of potential amount of money they can make based off of who they're able to sort of bring in and quote unquote influence to sign up?
The beauty of it, which it's hard to do, they work on CPA deals, which is basically where every person you get brought on, you get to bring in, you basically get paid a certain amount for. So whether like when I first started
CPA
working,
cost per acquisition.
Yeah. So when I started working at Thrive, we were giving out like 35 to, on the high end, like a $50 CPA. But since the industry has grown so much these days, like you can get pretty decently over 100 if you're consistent with them and worked with them for a long time. Like I did not start out with anywhere near that, but over time I've worked up. And I'd say just getting there, you just have to kind of just establish that familiarity with the company. A lot of the lesser tier companies will offer you more, just because they're not as reputable, so no one really knows them, so they have to kind of just throw their ad spend at you. But the problem is they won't convert as well. Like you'll think, oh, I'm making 150 or whatever from this person, but the problem is you're getting 10 people instead of 100 from that video. Right. So you want the best bang for your buck, the best
you want the brand, you want the tier ones.
The tier ones. There is like a peak to that though, where it's like maybe like everyone's already signed up for it.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is like where DraftKings and FanDuel come in. Like I don't know how many people that want to bet aren't on those apps. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I've never promoted them, so I don't know how crazy the conversion is there, but I've heard it's not anything crazy. But they'll offer like way more CPA. Yeah,
that dynamic's really interesting. So I'm gonna ask a tricky question that gets into the incentive on both sides, right? So the sportsbooks have a natural incentive, like they want people to play on them, on their app, on their product, because the way they make money is essentially from the margin of people that are losing money, right? Like the people that win, you pay them out. The people that lose, you keep the difference, and they set the lines to get what's called the vig. It's like that's their profit margin.
Yeah.
Now for them, the more people that are betting on their app, the higher likelihood that the market's going to be created such that there are enough losers for the sportsbook to make money. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put you on the spot here because I know you are all about winning more together. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting dynamic where you are partnering with these sports books and getting people to sign up for the sports book. Is there a conflict of interest there where you're giving people your advice, but then you're also like pushing them to sign up for the sports book, where the only way the sports book makes money from them essentially is if these people end up losing money over time?
Yeah. So for me, since I grew up doing it and I've always done it and I do it no matter what, like anyways, I can always be gambling or whatever. Like it doesn't affect me. Like I don't feel bad at all. I don't vape or any of that stuff, but I was like promoting vapes. I'd feel bad because like I don't do it. So like why would I do that? So for me, there's no, I know I've heard a couple of people have like moral issues with it or whatever, but for me, not really, because the way I get my money, as I explained, is not from you losing. There are companies, mainly like offshore stuff and like the sketchier sites that'll want to like, the way that they'll pay their creators is like you get a percentage of the people's losses.
That's right.
And like I don't do any of that. And I've heard people talk about that. Up. I've heard people talk about that openly on TikTok, saying like creators like me. They didn't say it at me, but they like pointed at another guy that they were saying this is how he does it. But I know that guy. I know it's not how he goes about his business. Like that's not how that works. Like some creators.
That's a horrible lie, because then you're basically saying like Dan is pushing people to this sports book, and the only way he gets paid by the sports book is if people lose. So therefore, he's influencing them with bad picks, and also and it's like that's not the case, because you're fully incentivized to put out the best product you can offer and the best information to help people win.
Yeah, like there's a bunch of offers at the start that you get from each book, like deposits up to $1,000, matches, free picks, free boosts and stuff. Like there's ways to get a lump sum of money at the start. So if you really are just losing instantly, like you can just pull out and still have like money there. Like I used to when I was really big into betting at the start, when I first like joined everything, I got like $7,000 worth of deposit matches and stuff. You know what I mean? I was milking every little edge as possible.
We'll make some plays on my PrizePicks account tonight. I've got
exactly. There you go. So you could, if you're just a regular Joe and you don't even care about like sports betting, you could literally just go to like all the sites, get all the deposit matches, wager it once through, and just make a bunch of money for free, basically.
Yeah.
So it's not all bad. But I will say though, it is really good to go based on a CPA deal where you're getting paid per person, where it's like commission, where there's no cap on it, because like you'll come into it, you'll think a certain amount of money is a lot of money that a company can pay you up front. But if you actually saw the behind the scenes of like how much you can really bring in per person, it's like you need to want to bet on yourself. That's why like I think I've done really well in this industry, because I'm a risk taker, and I'm confident like, okay, if I make this video well, it'll get enough eyeballs. And like a video that gets like 100,000 views, some company will like be like, oh, I'll give you like $500, $1,000 maybe for that or whatever. But there's upside of like 5+ figures for easily from that. So it's like, you just gotta, this is like one of those hacks that you get from talking to somebody else in the industry, that you just have to know there's more upside than you think. Always. Like always imagine there's more than what you're seeing.
And how did you figure that out? How did you figure out, let me bet on myself and let me unlock, was it the Thrive Fantasy background? The fact that you had been doing some of those affiliate deals when you were there, or what?
Yeah, pretty much. That and like talking to other people in the industry, like right when I got in, even before football season. Like basically, I did one weekend of NBA for I think it was May leading into the playoffs, and I did one Jason Tatum half a point special, and I did a live stream for it too, one video and a live stream. And at the end of the day, I had like, I think I made like $7,000. It was either the end of the day or end of the weekend or something like that. And I was just like, well, okay, this, I need to really maximize. That is like life-changing type of money in like a weekend. Like that's, so I just knew that from then on, I was like not going to take any of these. For here and there, I would take like occasional, like a couple grand per video, whatever. If it's like some off sponsor here or there, there's nothing else to promote. But for now, it's literally, I only work with a couple companies.
That's so interesting. And it's funny because the way you described having to like know the tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
What you're saying is basically creators, you know, sports content creators or other, need to understand when they're getting out leveraged by the entity they're doing business with. And if you know that if they're trying to out leverage you with whatever deal they're bringing forward, and you have, you know, the leverage you have as the creator, right? Then you can say, look, like I actually have more power than you realize, and I'm going to push harder on this deal. And you know what that is? I mean, that's what CEOs do. They know their business, like me, and they know when their businesses kick ass, like ours, you know, DubClub and DNR Sports, and you know when you can sort of push the envelope on the leverage that you have in these kinds of conversations.
Yeah, the companies never want you to know like how you're doing with other companies. They want to appear like they're the top guy, the best guy, whatever. I like kind of analogy that works is like basically the first time I really was able to say no to a company was like about a year and a half ago, where like they were offering me a pretty good deal, but it wasn't quite what the other ones were doing, and they didn't offer anything on top of that.
Yeah.
And like while it was still good just to have, I was just like, I need to just say no and be okay with like not doing this. And I was genuinely okay with it, which made it like so much more powerful. And literally like the next day they came back and said, okay, we can offer you more, like whatever. And we fixed it right there. And I like, it's a good analogy with like a girl. If you ever talk to a girl and they say no, like if you want to go out with them, they say no, it's like you want them more than if they were just easy and said yes to everything. Like it's kind of, you kind of have to be hard a little bit. Yeah, you gotta have standards. You can't just take every deal. I don't have like 100 deals going on. I got like 4, so it's like you guys and a couple of affiliate deals and that's it, So.
Yes, that's exactly right. And again, I think that's a really good skill to have, just the ability to say no. Also, being able to say no with grace is something that is like really hard to do.
Yeah.
There's a funny saying, I forget who coined it initially, but it's like, I would have written you a longer letter, like if I had time or whatever. It's like, I would have written you a shorter letter if I had time, because, you can like edit and stuff.
Yeah.
And that I remember that quote because it was in a book that I read about essentialism. The name of the book was Essentialism. And it's like about the art of saying no.
Yeah.
And once you start getting comfortable saying no, what ends up happening is like you realize you have more time for the stuff that actually matters to you, which is kind of interesting. So like the deals that you're looking at that are just better, you're like, I don't even have to think about that other deal.
Exactly. It's just good companies, good people, good deal. It's like, I don't have to worry about where's this next dollar coming from.
That's exactly right. And honestly, that's what I tell a lot of our partners. It's like, look, there's gonna be people that are gonna be coming after you from every which angle with like absurd stuff, but like we're the leader in the space. You're the most comfortable with our product. Our product is the best. Like, why would you look elsewhere, especially if we're treating you really well? Why unhinge your business when it's going to create more problems for you? And it's just that same exact kind of concept, right? Like you like the 3 affiliates you work with. Like, why would you change that up? I mean, things are working really well. You're growing. I think the only time it makes sense for anyone in life, I think at any point, is just like if things feel like they're kind of getting off the rocker a little bit and you need a little, you need to change things up a bit. But usually there's like an underlying cause to that is probably not related to the partner that you're with.
Yeah, and there's sometimes, like I have an example. This one company I worked with like vaguely for a little bit over the spring, like they offered a higher CPA and a whole different type of deal where it wasn't even like cost per deposit when someone put it on. It was like anyone who joined the site you would get paid for. So it seems like a deal that's too good to be true.
Yeah.
So a lot of people in the space were promoting it, but then in like 3 months they're like, actually, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to do this instead. And it's like having that switch up when you think something's consistent is so tough on you.
Yeah.
And especially if you already told other competitors, I'm going to work with these guys, and then they do that to you. So you have to go crawling back. It's kind of,
Yeah. It's a PIA, dude. Pain in the ass. It's like we have a line of revenue coming in, and then all of a sudden it gets cut in half. And it's like, well, you gotta drop what you're doing that day to figure out how do I fix this, because that's a huge part of the business. And for you guys as creators, is like that's a large revenue stream for you.
Yeah.
But I think generally, and I know it ebbs and flows, but the proportion between the stuff you bring in from the affiliate partnerships, and I know your business is a bit different than the average sports content creator CEO, but the proportion between the stuff you bring in from affiliate signups and then your DubClub, how does that change over the course of the year? And give me a general like percentage, X% from affiliate, X% from DubClub.
Okay. So it definitely spikes hard. So, okay, the upside of the affiliate deals can get real high on some days, like the Super Bowl or day 1 of NFL season. I mean, whoa, like this year, like as I said before, never think you know the ceiling, because it just goes everywhere. It's more than you ever thought it would be. So I would say with the affiliate deals in early September, I mean, that's like 99%. It's like literally just like, it's stupid. But then as the season goes along and people more so care about just actually good betting and like winning, the reason those do so well is because it's at like the Super Bowl or easy times to bet, where it's like getting new people on. That's why the affiliates are good. When you get new people on, you get paid.
Big event, draw new people in.
Exactly. But with DubClub, like last year when the Super Bowl ended was when I just blew up, because it was just like everyone was like looking for a sport to follow. Like, oh, basketball, oh, this guy's crushing right now, let me follow what he's doing. And so I was able to make a bunch of people money, and that took off a lot, but my affiliates just went to literally zero because there was nothing to talk about. Like I could do basketball affiliate videos, but at the time it was like, I mean, now DubClub is the one that's just crushing for me. So
put
why
your
would I
eggs in
just
that
ruin a good
basket,
thing?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice
So,
that you have that proportional weighting, and that
Yeah.
you kind of are a little de-risked as the business from where the money's coming in.
Yeah, and it also with a thing like DubClub where you need a track record of winning, it's a little harder in week 1 of the NFL season to be like, hey guys, we just crushed for what, baseball? Like most people don't follow me for baseball, so that's when the new guys come in versus NBA have a bunch of track record and whatnot. So
yeah, and I love that, and I think the people that you bring in on those affiliate deals, when they all sign up and they create those accounts, say like everyone creates like a sleeper account. They're like, well, you're giving out sleeper plays. So the idea is like they should also be subscribing to your DubClub.
Yeah.
Really common thing that we've learned, which you might have been talking to Mackins or Dash about, but I'm willing to share it because it's a really great tactic for sports content creators is, when you have your DubClub, you can give people like a free trial for 30 days or however long, give them like 100% off code if they show you that they signed up for one of your affiliate deals.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've tried that yet, but if I messaged you with an image of me using your promo code to Sleeper, I would expect 100% off code from you, and that's something that you could sort of advertise just to get more people in the door because they're going to renew after a month. And if they're already betting on Sleeper and they're taking your plays, you're betting on yourself again.
Right.
You just need a somewhat profitable month, or at least like looking good, a profitable week here and there. And people will be staying around.
Yeah, that's true. I've done that slightly a little bit once before with a company where I was selling like a draft guide. So it's like, if you want the draft guide,
that's right.
Yeah,
you started that a year and a half ago. I remember that when we were talking.
Yeah. So I've done that before, but I have not tried it with the selling picks yet, I guess.
Probably
a pretty good angle.
Yeah, it's a really good angle, especially in those big moments with the Super Bowl. Like those people are coming in to bet, on the Super Bowl, but a lot of them actually stick around. I mean, that's like it's funny. This is not the right terminology, but like a gateway, right? It is really like those types of events are the gateway. Horrible terminology. Scratch that now. But like it's the doorway, right? Let's use a different word because betting on sports again is it can be stimulating to an extent because it's gamified and it's really fun, but it's a hobby for people. Like it ends up becoming something where it is a way for them to make passive income, but also have a hell of a time doing it. It's really, really fun. So the events like the Super Bowl, NBA Finals, big events are doorways for you to bring them new bettors into the scene and then get them accustomed to what better than getting advice from someone that actually knows what they're doing. That's kind of like how DubClub sits as a partner to all these sports books. Sports books are incentivized to get more people betting. We're incentivized that when those people get started betting, like we want them to get the best information.
And it's good in the aspect that when you're signing up for this type of thing, people join my DubClub and they're like, okay, I had a guy the other day say like, it's my birthday, like give me like the best 10-leg lay you can think of. And like, I did it for him because it's his birthday, whatever, like I'll just do that for fun. But in general,
10? This is his 10th birthday?
Yeah. No, but like I'll pretty much in my DubClub, I actually don't give out like too many crazy lays. That's more just like a TikTok thing, just to be like, we could turn this much into this much because
it's just
people
entertaining
better.
For people. That's
exactly. Right. But when they're actually in my DubClub, I'm telling them like when I'm doing the ladder challenge, you're supposed to go from $10 to $10,000. But I tell them on each day, just treat it as if it's a play of the day and put 2 units on it. You can do the ladder on top of that if you want. But when we get to day 7 or 8, I was talking to John outside that like, if you get to day 8 or 7 or whatever, is where you have to pay like $2,000. Like some people just don't do that. They literally just do not do it. You don't have to keep with the challenge. Like keep your money, man. So I try to give that type of advice out to people too, where it's like straight bets are obviously the best. Parlays are fun, but you're probably gonna lose. And the books know that, so they make parlays very enticing. And they've actually like really nerfed the odds on them this year too. I've noticed a lot of the books. Like you never actually calculate your parlay odds. You're just like, oh, it's this to this, like whatever. But I've really noticed on some of these books,
you don't want to do that.
It is genuinely like 40% of what they used to be. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah,
that's brutal, man. All right, yeah, I'm actually curious to see how is that something. How do you calculate that? How do you calculate the parlay odds? Is it you can do it in the sportsbook app or what?
No, so like just the payout where it's like if you put, it used to be on a lot of apps that you could put down 4 player props and it would be, even if they were correlated, and it would be a 10x payout. But now even, say you take Kelsey Mahomes both to go over, Josh Allen and Khalil Shakir to both go over. It's very correlated. If they're in the same game, especially, it's extra correlated.
Like Sunday.
And yeah, exactly.
Is that one of your plays?
Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to join the DubClub. But it gets like 4x now. on some of these apps, like 4.5x instead of 10x. I'm like, what the hell happened? Like, it used to be a selling point for me on some of these apps where like FanDuel's always known this, so theirs has always been like a 6x or a 7x. They've always had the correlation thing in there, but some of these other apps have really gotten crazy with it. I'm just like, damn, I used to have this as a selling point. Hey guys, it's 10x instead of the 7x from FanDuel. Well, now it's not. So it's,
So what are they trying to do with that by bringing down the potential payout?
Well, they just don't have to pay you.
Well, I know, but that's the thing. They're trying to make more money or like keep more money, expense, give away less. But are they trying to then push people to the tougher combinations and therefore the higher payouts but lower probability?
Exactly. They want people to do more things that would, it's easy to predict one outcome of a football game because it's one football game.
Yeah.
Diggs catching a touchdown directly affects Tank Dell catching a touchdown. It's like this guy didn't because this guy did. So,
yeah, exactly.
Whereas if you take one from each game, the odds don't change at all because there's no correlation. It's companies are just finding more ways to save money, I guess, is the thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because let's put ourselves in the shoes of someone new to betting. Like, I could try to figure out all of that on my own, or I could listen to someone that is literally at the forefront of the industry as it's evolving.
Yeah.
And I'd way rather, I'm like the normal person. Like, I don't have time to do all that. And my day job isn't betting all the time and giving out betting advice. So I'd probably rather take someone whose day job it is.
Exactly. Like the normal person will put a 3-leg parlay down. It'll be like 2x and be like, okay, that seems about right. But me knowing it used to be 6x is like, mentally, I'm like, I can't take that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And like you're giving people to say, hey, this is not worth taking. Right. Yeah. Like that's important. Yeah. And it's funny because I think that that's just something that you like all of our partners are on the forefront of figuring that stuff out. And some of them across different sports. Do you know who Krelix is on Twitter?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, he's great. His name's Skylar. He's awesome. Young guy, CEO of a company called Stats Edge. Which is...
I think I've heard of that, though.
Yeah, it's like esports data.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. They're running the business on DubClub. And Skylar was telling me that he's found the same dynamic in esports where books are getting sharper and smarter and taking down payouts. And he's like, look, I can put together more sophisticated slips that have higher payout, and so he's looking at things like pentakills now. It's like, it's just things that like you wouldn't have considered betting on before, but his models have all this historical data, and so he's able to stay ahead of the trends.
Yeah.
And what I don't get is like, why doesn't everyone just listen to this guy?
Exactly. Well, I've noticed Zeke does the same thing on Twitter where he's a little ahead of the game of like taking fantasy points instead of yards or touchdowns and stuff. Like he knows which don't get as correlated or penalized correlatively. And it's hard to do that. The problem with balancing like being a good bettor and making good content is like a very tough battle because like talking about fantasy points in a video that's about sports betting is a little like kind of loses some people.
Yep.
They'd rather just hear like this guy hits over yards, under yards, touchdown, no touchdown. Like they want to hear that more. So it's a little hard to balance. It loses
the fantasy players, actually, who would it lose in that instance?
It's just like people don't grasp sometimes if they haven't like played fantasy before, and sometimes like Travis Kelce's fantasy projection this week maybe like 14.5 on like a full PPR site. But in my video, I'm using a half PPR site, so it's like 11.5 or something like that. So people are like, why is it that low? It just makes it hard. Like it's like you want to eliminate every barrier possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. Okay. All right. So speaking a little bit of I want to get into some of the player stuff because we got to get into the DNR Sports ratings.
Okay.
So the Cooper Cup rating was one of the first viral videos that you had. What was the rating? Like, talk me through that. And how did you arrive at that rating for him?
It's actually funny. I literally I think 2 weeks ago I went back because I was feeling nostalgic and I listened to I went back to some of the other OG YouTubers I used to watch and like see their first videos. So I went back and watched mine again. So I did watch a couple of these. The Cooper Cup one, I had like a really weird rating scale where it was like I had like 8 categories out of 10. So the whole thing was out of 80. I think I gave him like a 70.5 at 80 or like a 70, so something like there, which was like one of the top. Like I think Devonta Adams was top at the time 2 years ago, like 72.
Okay. Wait, so it wasn't out of 100? Is that 80?
Because I just had 8 categories I rated out of, so I was like, well, just calculate a percent, and that's what he is.
EA Sports is never going to hire you to
No. I mean, you could extrapolate it, but for the videos, I was too late. It was my first one, and I didn't know what to do. But
it did well.
It did well. Yeah. What was the second part of the question?
Just how did you arrive at that? So walk through the 8 categories.
It was.
We're gonna get into like some of your best ratings and ones that you think didn't pan out. But let's.
Okay. Here. So with Cup, I think it was speed, yards after catch ability. So what you do with the ball in your hands.
Yep.
Route running, release, It was either jump ball or like contested catching was one of them. Strength, because he's a really good blocker, so like that matters too.
Yeah.
Some receivers have to leave the field, like Tank Dell, because he just can't block.
Yep.
What are there? Two more. I'm kind of forgetting, honestly.
That's all right.
I have the chart somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, my team will probably put the chart up on the video.
Okay. Yeah,
so
I'll have to bring that up.
Yeah, how did you? So each of those.
I have like a big Excel sheet of like all of them from years ago. So
That's
I'll have to go
incredible.
look at it.
Did you watch film to figure this out, or was it like an instinctive thing from having watched so many games?
Well, yeah, it's like I've pretty much watched like all these players for like a long time, and I have a really good grasp, and I use the film too. Like I feel like I have a pretty good grasp, like explaining how each player plays, if that makes sense. And so like with Cooper Kupp, very good technician, route runner. I think everyone knows that. But like his blocking is like so underrated. The Rams offense, like they don't do a lot of 2 tight end sets or 3 tight end sets because they just have Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp who are both huge wide receivers. You don't think Cooper Kupp's huge? He's huge. Like he's 6'2" and he's over 200.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these other offenses, like the Ravens, they use a lot of 3 tight end sets because their receivers are really tiny.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, and like Rashad Bateman, all that. So it's just like things like that. It factors into the ratings and stuff. But yeah, just mainly film of me. I have watched like film of the players, but most of it's come. I went pretty deep. There was like probably 100 or so ratings I did, so I couldn't just binge watch film for all these guys. So that's kind of how it was.
I love that. What? So on the topic of the DNR Sports ratings, what do you think is like the most inaccurate rating you ever did? Where you look back on it and you're like, dang, I got that one really wrong.
Okay, so this is stipulation in all the videos I would say is that this is the player's talent I'm rating, not necessarily like the production they're going to get in their system.
Yeah.
So like,
interesting.
This is 2.5 years ago after Odell Beckham just tore his ACL, but he looked really good after the Super Bowl. Like that Super Bowl, the Rams win.
Yep.
He for the first half was better than Kupp for that first half. But I was saying like if this is no ACL tear Odell Beckham at his like skill set of what I think he's at now, this is what I'll give. I think I gave him like a 69 or something pretty close to Kupp. Just because like
out of 80.
Yeah, because he's still really fast. His yak ability is great. His hands are great. Everything's great about him. The problem is he just doesn't stay healthy, obviously.
Yeah.
And because for a couple of years before that too, he was playing around with like Baker, and they weren't doing well in Cleveland and stuff. But like as a talent, he was still good. So like him, Antonio Brown, I still had very highly, but then he fucking takes his helmet off and leaves the game. Yeah. But I still think he was like a great player. So like that. In terms
Ironically,
of like,
he's now on DubClub.
Oh, is he really? Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't know that. You gotta see his stuff.
Yeah. He's got a good little community going.
Does he?
Yeah, it's fun.
That's
yeah,
fun,
I was
man.
in it for a bit.
In terms of like who panned out badly, Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore on the Browns now. He was on the Jets when I did it.
Yeah.
He looked great his rookie year. He had like a 6-game stretch at the end of the year, looking super explosive and everything. I made this horrific claim in a video that like maybe he was better than CeeDee Lamb at the time. I mean, it was real bad. Yeah. It was like with a bunch of advanced stats. This is where you can over advanced stat yourself sometimes. Where it's like
overthink it.
Yeah, I was just like, but the yards per blah, 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 and everything was just so good. It's just he's not.
Was this when Zach Wilson was starting in the Jets?
Yeah, but it was like Mike White at the end of the year and stuff. It was like maybe Joe Flacco actually too.
Yeah,
it was like 4 guys, and so it was like, oh, if Joe Flacco is doing this good. Come to see it now, anybody who plays with Joe Flacco seems to do really well. Like Amari Cooper had a 200-yard game last year. Yeah. Now this year's not doing much. Obviously, Amari's a good player, but just stuff like that. In terms of who is the best pan out, Amon-Ra was really good.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra was a really good one.
Good call on that one. Yeah, he was on the Receivers Netflix series last year, which was really cool. His younger brother went to Stanford.
Yeah.
Played receiver there. And then I think another brother went to USC. Where did Amon-Ra go again?
So he went to USC.
He went to USC. Yeah, I think there was another one that
Equanimeous St. Brown.
Yeah, Equanimeous went to.
He was in the Packers for a little bit too.
Yeah.
Packers and Bears.
I forget which brother went to Stanford. I think there was 3 of them.
I think there is a third. I watched something about them, but I forget to be honest with you.
Yeah, so Amon-Ra was the one that went to USC. That's right. Okay. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, that was like right after he broke out at the end of that first year. But a lot of people are like, "Is this going to stay or whatnot?" But like, I was pretty firm on that stand.
Yeah, good call on that one because you could sort of see like this guy's not going to stop until he's like one of the best. And look at the Lions now. I mean, they're rolling. It's interesting. So like you have these DNR Sports player ratings. How did all that information, that spreadsheet, inform the best ball stuff that you're doing with like fantasy and all
that? What do you mean? Like, how did it correlate to
like how you've done? You just have this natural knowledge and research behind a lot of these players, and then best ball is all about like putting together the right it's like very frequent putting together the right team or picking the right players.
Yeah, I think it's definitely helps me with like player specific takes a lot. Like for my betting stuff, it is data driven, a lot of it, but some of it as well is like scheme dependent and like matchup dependent on like certain teams playing who and who's the slot receiver, how does this type of receiver play, like what's play style, stuff like that. Like for example, in the Chiefs game, they're playing the Bills, and the Bills are like super cover too heavy, and they like do not let anything deep happen. Like it's all just underneath. So Kelsey, I think he's going to get a good amount of receptions from that. He's just going to hover over the middle of the field and catch the easy dink and dunk stuff. Like this year, there's been like an epidemic of cover two. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's just like everybody's playing it, so you can't have these big hit plays, and you just got to just stuff her with 3-yard gains and deal with it. And so that's why it's like it does benefit those players. Like that's why Chris Godwin is having such an amazing year too, because they moved him back to the slot so he could dominate like that. So just a little play.
He was on my fantasy team.
Yeah, RIP.
So talk about one of the next things I want to talk about is like some of the worst play calls or coaching decisions made in sports history. Like I got to put the Godwin one up there. Like the game is out of reach. There's less than a minute left, and you've got your star receiver having a career year.
Yeah.
What in the world are you doing?
And Mike Evans already got hurt too.
And Mike Evans already hurt. What are you doing?
That one didn't get me too badly. Like I wasn't too mad because that.
Well,
I think
Godwin probably wasn't on your fantasy team.
Well, yeah, that's true.
It hit home for me.
I think it was a 2-possession game still. So if they did score, like the onside kick and hope at least. But if it was like more than that, then I'd be like, all right, that was stupid.
But like, what's the probability of being able to?
I was surprised they didn't. Well, I was surprised they didn't bench him like with 10 minutes left because they actually had like I think it was like a 25-point lead or something like that. Like they had clawed their way back in. And it was still like a 14-point game with 2 minutes left, and then that's what happened. So the context,
if you're looking at it by just the fact that there's so little time on the clock,
it probably should have been like the end of the third quarter when they all got benched. It was looking real bleak.
But then the Bucs made their way back. Okay, fine. I'll give that one. But yeah, what do you think some of the worst play calls in sports history? And what stimulated this type of question is because I strongly still hold that the Pete Carroll call Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl, where Carroll called the pass, and you've got Marshawn Lynch in the backfield. I'm like, I still think that was a good call, but people disagree with me.
Yeah, it's just very much that poker aspect of when like everyone knows you want to run it with LaShawn McCoy. What am I saying? Marshawn Lynch.
Dang, LaShawn McCoy throwing it back.
LaShawn McCoy.
He was so good on the Eagles, man. I remember him.
Yeah, those two. But so it's just like everyone knows that. So you almost outthink yourself to pass. So then when you do, if you make it, you look like a genius. It's always the thing about going for it on fourth down as well. If you get it, you're a genius. Like Dan Campbell has the biggest balls in the world or whatever, because he always goes for it on fourth down. But when you miss, like when was it? It was last year. I forget the exact scenario, but oh my God, they went for a 2-point conversion. They miss. A penalty comes back. They get it at like the 5 or the 7 maybe, or something like that, and they still decide to go for it on 2 when they did not need to go for it on 2. Like there was no reason to. I think it was either to win. I think it was to win the game maybe. Yeah, it was. It was against Dallas, I believe, to win the game from the freaking 7-yard line. Just kick the damn extra point. Like at that point, what are you doing? But he's like, no. I told my team we're gonna go down and win the game, and I love him. I want that in my coach, but like, all right, at a certain point, that's like so unlikely. The percentage of a 7-yard touchdown there or extra point is just like too little. So that was pretty bad. I'll say the worst call I've ever seen though was that the Saints Rams game. It was the 2017 championship, I believe, game where Nicole Roby-Coleman, I forget the receiver on the Saints, but Drew Brees throws it in front, and the DB, it's like on the 10-yard line, just absolutely decimates him like a full second before the ball gets there.
Yeah.
And they did not call it. And it was like the most egregious, like poor Drew Brees, he's never getting a Super Bowl again moment. Like it was so egregiously the wrong call. And even the DB in the locker room afterwards was like laughing. He's like, yeah, I totally like messed up and they didn't call it. I think that's
bad. I mean, do you fire that referee or like what's the?
They have to. I didn't look into it. I didn't care enough. But like,
yeah, but that's insane.
That has to be like that I've seen. That's got to be. I mean, there's always bad calls, but that one was just like how could anyone not see that? And that's where I believe that's like the next year is when they tried doing challenges on pass interference or something happened. I forget exactly what that was.
I don't get why. It doesn't make any sense to me why you wouldn't review penalties.
Yeah, and one that was like so obvious where it's like when you have like 30 different replay angles, but you can't tell the refs they were wrong.
Exactly. That's why I think it's stupid. It's like they're playing just like the players are playing. Like they are in the game at the same time seeing everything that they're seeing. They could totally make the wrong call.
And I will say though, it's the refs do an impressive job of like a lot of the holding calls and stuff that I would never just see looking at the game. So they do a good job at that, but it's just like some stuff that is really blatantly obvious that can be replayed like that. That affects the game so much because there was literally like the last 10, 30 seconds of that game, it just iced the game. That was it.
Yep.
It was like, and they were going to score a touchdown too. It was just, yeah, that was real bad.
Reminds me of I don't know if it was the last Super Bowl or the one before it, but the non-call on the pass interference with it was to win the game. Mahomes. They gosh, I'm trying to remember.
I remember the Juju one, but they did call a penalty, and that's why they ended up winning.
Yes, sorry, it was.
Eagles,
yeah, that's right. And everyone's like, just let him play. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they had another one where it was like a defensive lineman was like just barely offsides in a previous Super Bowl or something like that, and they called it, which like bailed out Mahomes for something. I forget exactly.
Yeah, the almighty Mahomes. Have you seen those memes going around?
I have. Yeah.
Those are hilarious.
It's always like Chris Collinsworth AI voice over them too. Like just
hold on, pause the game for a second. Let's wait to hear what they have to say about the almighty Mahomes. Blah 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 blah. All praise and hail the almighty Mahomes. It's like it's pretty funny. The way that Mahomes acts to the refs is like, he knows he's like.
Yeah,
he has the right to be, right? The guy just finds a way to freaking win.
Yeah, when you get to that point, Tom Brady level, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, the refs are always on your side." The refs are like pretty much on everyone's side all the time.
Yeah,
I saw
like
a call
the refs
the other day.
are pretty collaborative for the most part. They're just trying to be there. I mean, when I was sitting at the Warriors game with the Parlay plug a couple weeks ago, we were down there, near the court, and you could just see that the referees were like taking, they take Draymond aside, they take Buddy Hield aside, and they're trying to talk to them. And they're just being humans, like, hey, look, like, get your arms off. Like, I'm not going to call it this time. They just want to see the players play, too, for the most part.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing that people don't want to admit is that there is like a tenure aspect, too, where it's like if you've been there a while, like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, if you've done it, like, obviously you're going to get a couple more. Like, if they hit you below the knee or whatever, it's like, you'll probably get that call more than just like Taysom Hill at quarterback or whatever. It's like,
Taysom Hill, you could put a bulldozer at him and after he throws the ball, it'd be fine.
Exactly,
an absolute tank. Okay, all right. So talked a little about your approach to why you even like sports in the first place, how you got into this world. But does the plays that you give out to your subscribers for your DubClub in particular, is there any particular betting strategy behind that, or anything that you use, a lot of the research that you're drumming up over the course of a weekend or a week to go into that? Or is a lot of it just instinct?
A lot of it's instinct. A lot of it's just early. The reason instinct works is when it's like early line movement stuff. For like NBA, a lot of the stuff I give out the night before. And obviously, I said before, my football plays have to come out like 3 days before sometimes. So it's like there's a lot of movement, and lines are mostly always going to move up. Like just because throughout the week people are just betting the overs. Like it's very rare a line goes down. So we're getting the value at like CMC yesterday was at 65 rushing yards. Today it's at 75.
Oh wow,
that's unbelievable. So just things like that. Obviously, it's not always going to be that big of a difference. But I remember last year there was one specifically with Trae Young. It was like day 4 of the ladder, the first ladder that I ended up getting to day 8, and I took him over 9.5 assists. But everybody who saw the video the next day was at 10.5 already. And I literally said it in the video. I'm like, this is why you want to be in the DubClub, because you get a difference of that number. And he ended on 10. In the last second, he got to 10. Like literally the last 5 seconds of the game. Wow. And I was like, yeah, that is painful, but that's why line shopping matters, and why getting the best number, earliest number always matters. Obviously, there's sometimes you give out a play, something happens where, I don't know, you give Tyreek over and Tua gets hurt throughout the week. It's like, well, shit out of luck. But more times than not.
Can't control that.
Exactly. Yeah, more times than not. It's the best move. And as for how I got into it and like why, I think I've always just been wired to want to predict things. And like I think everyone wants to be
everyone kind of wants to be right.
Yeah, everyone wants to be right. Everyone wants to like make money from it. And so like I thought when I was 17, I remember I wanted to be like a day trader.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, this is so easy. I could do whatever. And but then I realized I do not give a shit about like companies at all. Like I don't care about the public stock market or anything like that. Like it doesn't do it for me. But like players, I think I know something with that. So let me try. So it's just combining. I always play sports. I love sports. I understand them pretty well, I think.
Big soccer guy.
Exactly, yeah, soccer. Big golf guy now. But so just blending 2 interests.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Talk about some big winners and we'll get into worst beats.
Okay. Big win, at least for like the ROI on this, there was like it was the Bills Chiefs was 13-second game where it was like at the end, Mahomes. It was
I
that
can't
game
remember.
where I took.
Was this the AFC championship?
Yeah. Where it was literally just like 4 TDs in the last 4 minutes, and guess who had the over? And thought it was such a lock too. I was like, oh, this is easy, like 54 and a half.
Looking at it, and you're like,
yeah,
28 points.
Yeah. Afterwards, I was like, oh my god. And then everything. I never had it quite like this, where like you're always hoping, you're always theorizing the crazy way that some player gets the job done for you at the end of the game, or like 3 different ways that has to happen. And this time, literally everything happened. It was like Jerick McKinnon did some crap for me, Gabe Davis, the over hit. The final leg was Travis Kelce touchdown, and that literally was the final play of the game. It was like everything hit. I turned like $5 into like, it was like 4.7K or something. It was like,
wow.
it was an insane, it was a very big parlay, like very long. It was like just one you just throw in the dark, fuck it. And that's the ROI wise, that's got to be my biggest. I mean,
it is so fun. I remember exactly where I was watching that game because I couldn't watch it with anyone because I'm a big Bills fan. I really like Josh Allen.
Are you? Oh, no.
Love Josh Allen. So this weekend's gonna be really fun. Chiefs Bills, one of the best. I mean, the best game of the year, I think. Regular season. And I remember that game, and I'm glad that you had that ticket stacked because not only was it probably one of the best playoff games we've seen in a long time, but you also had a huge payout from it. From all these insane things happening.
Just every play of the field
goal. Like the Bills deciding to leave 15 yards on Tyreek Hill off the line of scrimmage and let him run free for 10 yards, put his hands up. Mahomes dumps it off. The guy runs for 30 yards.
The Tyreek touchdown too. I think that was part of it.
Yeah, it's just like, what in the world was going on? It was like backyard football.
It was crazy. And just like the 13 seconds to get in field goal range, to go to overtime, to get the Kelce touchdown. I was like, what? What?
Insane. And so $5 to win $4,700.
Yeah, I think it was about that. I mean,
I
was on the ground rolling around. I remember too. I was like literally just like freaking out.
I would have been laughing my ass off. Like that's hilarious. That's why these when you chip away enough with the bankroll builders and some of the things that are a bit more, I would say like not mundane but less exciting than something like that, and then you get something like that. It's just like yes, it just feels so good.
We got to remember there's an aspect of like fun here too. Like I say, don't do parlays as much. Like you can do the cheap parlays and stuff. I'm just saying, don't do
$5. Like sprinkle a little bit, right? If you're betting with $1,000 bankroll and your units, 1%, right? That's $10 play. You put like half
exactly.
even like a quarter, $2.50, like something like that.
Yeah,
have fun with it.
I would just say at the start of my betting career, when I was trying to be like really profitable with it, I remember starting with $1,000. And I got to like $3,000 in like the end of the month, and it was like really good. It was like a slow chipping away, just like the slow roll of the bets over and over.
That's pretty impressive.
It really was. But then I had like some car payments and stuff, and I was like, all right, let's throw a couple parlays together. And I literally lost like $1,500 instantly. It was like so dumb. And like ever since then, I'm like, you see how spirally it can be. So if you do it within reason, it's fine. But just remember it's for fun.
Yeah, exactly. Like be careful of how much you kind of have to like set aside a special bankroll for it.
Yeah.
But it is interesting because a lot of like people that do player props like you, at the end of the day, a parlay ticket, depending on how many legs, right? Like you are just stacking outcomes. And so if you have 6 individual slips and then you stack all those together in a parlay, I mean, that's advice that I've gotten is whenever you're betting on someone, Mahomes over 37.5 yards, whatever. Like I'm just making stuff up at this point. Mahomes over 37.5 rushing yards. Yep. Kelce like touchdown, like 1+ touchdown. It's like you have those individual slips, and then you can put them into something else that ends up in a much greater probability.
Yeah, exactly. I would say just straight bet all the bets you like, and then parlay the combos you want.
But
it's frustrating. The problem is people just don't do the straight bet because like, it only turns it into this.
Well, also part of the problem is that like Prize Picks, it's something they don't let you do that.
Right.
That's part of the issue is they created, and it's really gamified. Like they did a good job with the product. They created this gamification for the user. Like you'll see tonight when we go to the Warriors game. I'm going to have you help pick for me, but it's very much like I just want to choose one, but you can't. You have to, and it can't be players usually from the same game. It's like gotta be different. It's like so many freaking rules, man. But I get it. Like I get why they're doing that. It's because you've got people like you guys that are dominating and finding all these edges. So it makes sense. But all right, we didn't mention. So that's a huge ticket that you cashed, $5 to $4,700. What about bad beats that you can remember?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say I think I'm pretty good at blocking these out, but there's definitely been some bad ones.
It's very unique, by the way. Like a lot of people, the bad beats that did.
I don't know. Like recently, I've had like a short-term memory. I'll say the one that I just told another guy. So, okay, Jason Tatum the other night against the Hawks. This one just happened.
Oh, boy.
And I took him over 29.5 points. And no Jaylen Brown. It was like pretty smash spot.
Yep.
And at halftime, he has 26 points.
They take him out?
26 points. They didn't take him out at half. They let him play the entire third quarter, where he scored 2 points and bricked literally like 10 other shots. He was really trying to get me my 30. And
he's fighting for you.
He was fighting for me. And then I see the clock ticking down, and they're up 30 by the end of the third quarter, and I knew he was getting benched, and he didn't go back in. And it was just like, I literally was like mid-recording the video of how we won. And I'm just like, wait, what? Like, what the hell just happened?
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah, and I've had a couple of those too. Oh my God, one was
now they're coming back.
Yeah. You have to think for like Cam Thomas last year during the ladder challenge. I took an under, and people are always like say like, "Well, I'm not tailing an under; it's bad, whatever." Like unders can be fine. Yeah, I took a Cam Thomas under 23 or 24.5 last year when he was like really sporadic.
Yep.
He had 2 points at halftime. And he finished like 27. He just went fucking nuclear. And it was in a game where it was a blowout too. They just left him in. They was like, here, go have fun. And he took every shot in the fourth quarter, literally every single shot. I think he already did that again this year where he had like 20 points in the fourth quarter. He's just one of those players that's just like, I'm going to take every shot. I don't care.
Yep.
So
that is super annoying.
Yeah.
What I've noticed that like at least with Prize Picks, what they do is if you're not paying attention to the game, they'll trap you in the app thinking like, let's take Draymond, for instance. Draymond over 6 points. He's at or over 6.5. He's at 5 at halftime.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, yeah, lock. Right.
Yeah.
And he needs one basket, and he hits it. And what you don't realize is the way. And I don't know if if Prize Picks knows this, but if you're actually at the game, which we'll see tonight, the way that the matchups are working is like, for instance, this was when I was at the game against the Pelicans a couple weeks ago. The guy that Draymond was matched up against, if he's not in the game, Draymond's not in the game because they're resting him. And this guy had 4 fouls.
Yeah.
At half.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, Draymond lock. Draymond played like 2 minutes in the second half.
Basketball is really bad with that.
It's tough, and
especially
it just
with the
gets
rotations
you.
of just like last year. I think Trae Young's role has switched, but last year he would play like 5 minutes in the first quarter and the third quarter, and then just sit. It was like the weirdest shit. Like they put him in and he played like almost all the fourth quarter. Steph and the Warriors do the same thing.
Yes.
Steph plays a lot, but he'll literally not play any of the first part of the fourth quarter like ever. It's like 6. They'll leave him on the bench for so long. I'm like, guys, you're down 10. Can we get Steph Curry in the game? Like, hello, and just like things like that. Where like what you're saying with Draymond, if you think, oh, he only needs 2 points. Well, if there's blowout potential, you get like the 6 minutes of the third quarter, and then you might not get any of the rest of the game because he'll be on his minute rest, and then he just won't play.
Yep.
So there's just stuff like that.
Yeah, I was at the game like pulling my hair out, seeing on the sidelines on the bench Draymond sitting there with 2 ice bags on his knees. I'm just like, bro.
Yeah.
Please go in the game and make a basket. That's all I ask. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
But Kerr was resting him, rightfully so. So I can't blame the way that they want to approach the game plan, right?
I will just say one more bad beat because now they're all flowing in my head.
Yeah, keep them coming.
There's one from week 1 of the season where it was
this
season I made a long shot lay. My first video about the season. It was 8 legs, and I won 7 out of 8. No, sorry, I won 6 out of 8. And James Conner, he literally finished with like I think 51, and I needed 52. It was 1 yard he was short, and then Mike Evans was like 4 yards short, and it was like, if I started off the season with an 8 leg, it had like 1 million views. The video on each platform, on Instagram and TikTok, like everyone would be like, "Oh my god, this guy's yeah." So that one I was like, "Wow, 5 yards total was the difference between me and an 8."
It's a bummer for both of us because I had James Conner on my fantasy league, and I'm trading him away. And now, of course, he's doing well.
Yeah,
can't get it right. All right, man, this has been really fun, Dan. Thank you for joining the CEO Corner. You've crushed it on all fronts.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's time to go get some food and hit the Warriors game.
Yeah, go Warriors.
Yeah, we'll catch y'all soon.